Hello my friends, I hope this video finds you doing well. Now I know there's probably a lot of, and I'm getting a message on Instagram. Who is it? Oh, it's my friend. Anyway, there's a lot of explaining I have to do. I know I kind of look like disheveled right now. I got the big bushy beard and the mustache and got the shitty looking Jesus hair. But I just wanted to let you guys know, if you've been watching my shorts, if you've been watching, any of my shorts, I thank you very much. That means a lot to me. But now I'm in a more permanent place. Originally, I was I don't want to get into too many details, but I was basically I don't want to say like in the system, but I was in a situation that wasn't very ideal. But now I'm back to being in a good situation where I'm in a home and everything's great, and I got my own space, and I can actually record long-form content now. So let's go. So today I wanted to talk about a very specific topic, and I know you guys are used to me doing shorts, but I kind of want to branch out and try some other things. Try some longer form content where I just talk about the things that I like. And I hope this video finds you doing well wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing. I hope you're doing great. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about a very specific, well, not specific topic, but a topic that I have been thinking a lot about. So I am a huge fan of DC Comics, the comic books, the DC, I should say DC Universe. I'm a huge fan of the DC Universe. I know that, historically they did really well in the early 2000s with the Justice League animated series, Unlimited, Batman Beyond, Batman, New Adventures of Batman. DC was going hard around those times. Static Shock, who can forget? And then in recent years, we've kind of had some, Zack Snyder tried his best, but it wasn't, great. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, but yeah, let's be real here. It wasn't really that good. There was a few good movies, but the whole making Batman kill people rule and then being like, oh, well, I just, Batman can just kill people because people told me he didn't kill, so I just thought maybe we'll make him kill, and whatever. And that's stupid. Like, that's like being like a kid and being like, oh well, they told me I couldn't do it, so I'm gonna do it. But no. I mean, I get the perspective, right? Of it's just easier if Batman kills, but also part of Batman's character is his humanity, knowing that if he kills, he'll probably turn into like the Batman Who Laughs. If you don't know who that is, there's a lot of good comic book series in the Dark Knight, Death Metal series you should check out. But anyway, today, guys, my friends, I want to talk about the Lanterns TV show trailer for HBO Max. Now, if you don't know, DC's kind of been falling off for a long time. And it wasn't until recently, in like the last year or two, maybe 3, where James Gunn became the kind of like the head honcho. It's not Zack Snyder anymore, and he directed Superman, which I think was great because that was like a rebirth of the DCU, right? Or well, the beginning of the DCU, rebirth of the DCEU, and like actually making something that people liked. And the movie was pretty good. They was like, oh, Superman movie, okay. Pretty good, not too bad. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was really good. I really liked, Superman being more conscious about like civilians and not just crashing into buildings and killing everybody. There's this one fight. I don't want to like spoil it too much, so spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But there's this one fight where he's fighting like this giant monster that grows, and he's like trying to protect the city. It's not like in Man of Steel where he's just tossing General Zod through buildings and killing people en masse, and then he gets hailed as a hero. I get that. That's in the superhero universe, you kind of have that, like someone's going to throw your car and miss, the meme about like when you get off work and Hulk throws your car to supervillain and misses, and you just paid off the car, you're still paying off the car, that happens. But I liked that about Superman. So what I'm doing this all to preface is that DCU is looking promising. Peacemaker Season 2 I thought was pretty good. Most of the original DC movies are no longer canon, except the 2018 Suicide Squad, I believe, is still canon. I don't see why it wouldn't be, because Peacemaker is part of that universe. But that movie is also directed by James Gunn, let's actually look that up just to be sure here. I should know this already, but let's see. Directed Suicide Squad 2. Yeah, it was James Gunn. Okay, just wanted to make sure. But he directed the second Suicide Squad movie, which was arguably leaps and bounds better than the first one. Because that still took place in the DCU. Now, anyway, all this tying in to talk about Lanterns. Lanterns is the new Green Lantern-based TV show that James Gunn is directing. And he is bringing these Green Lantern characters to life. It's Hal Jordan, which is like the main Green Lantern guy we all know from the comics. And then John Stewart. Except in this kind of continuity and universe, Hal Jordan's like a lot older, and John Stewart's young, and he's like teaching John Stewart the ropes of like, this is what you gotta do to be a Green Lantern. Now, the thing about this I found interesting, I don't mind the dynamic of Hal Jordan being older and John Stewart being young. I think that that's okay. I know in the comic book continuity they're pretty much like partners and not like a mentor, I mean, like he's a mentor in some cases, but they're around the same age. It's not like Hal Jordan's like 20, 30 years older than John Stewart, at least in the, modern iterations of the DC comic books. So he is in this book, or not book, sorry, brain fart, TV show. And I'm kind of excited for the show because, originally before the trailer came out, I was like, damn, bro, they're making a Green Lantern TV show. We'll probably get to see Kilowog, maybe Sinestro, but the problem is that it doesn't seem to be set in a space setting. Now, this isn't that big of a deal to me, but it seems to be set in like a small kind of like western town, kind of in the boonies, like kind of out in the desert, and it seems kind of like almost like a western a little bit, which I'm not like fully against. But before the trailer came out, I was kind of thinking, I was like, well, it's going to be set in space. They're going to be going from planet to planet doing. And to be fair, that would cost a lot of money, but I mean, it's James Gunn, man. He directed the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's basically just the Marvel equivalent of space travel to the Green Lanterns. So, anyway, was a little disappointed. I was like, man, I mean, that's cool. I mean, the Western vibe isn't bad, but it's just not what I was looking for, hoping for. So hopefully we'll get to see some Kilowog or something, There was a good, spoilers alert, but there's a really good scene at the end of the trailer where John Stewart's like, oh, did you talk to any of the other Green Lanterns? And Hal is all like, well, I'm the only human. One of them's a fucking squirrel. I thought that was really funny. He's referring to Chip, who's a Green Lantern in the comic book continuity, who's a really cool character, and he's a little funny guy. But it doesn't, like, when I watched it, it didn't feel like Green Lantern. It just felt like they're doing the thing I've seen a lot of shows and movies do. I felt like this a little bit, this is kind of an offshoot, but I felt this a little bit was Supernatural. It's what shows do when they don't have a huge budget, but they have really big ideas, is they make everything down to earth. There's a lack of CGI. Smallville did this back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember, but to be fair, Smallville came out like early 2000s, and it was on CW. They didn't have an enormous budget to work with. It wasn't James Gunn where they have like a lot of money and they could like actually do it. But I don't know if you remember, in Smallville, they never showed Martian, like Martian Manhunter was in it, but they never showed him in Martian form. They just had like backdrops and like dark, like his eyes were glowing red and he flew up into the sky. And if you watch it, the CGI, like by modern day standards, is not good. But if you take it by like the standards of the time it came out with the budget they had, it's good. But this is kind of the thing I expected from Lanterns, as they're calling it. I kind of was half expecting it to be like, oh yeah, this is going to be a super big thing, and they're going to be in space, and they're going to be fighting, and they, might maybe be able to run into like Atrocitus like they did in the Green Lantern animated series. But it didn't seem that they wanted to go that route. Maybe they will. I don't know. Maybe it's just like an episode or two on Earth, or maybe half the series is on Earth, and then they go into space. I hope they do. I don't want them to skimp out on that, because I'm not a huge fan of the trope of like, oh, I used to be this big shot in space doing all this stuff, but, who cares? Now we're on Earth, and everything is down to Earth, and it feels like they're trying to shrink the Green Lantern story, right? Because like Green Lantern is this big character who's going from planet to planet, You know, I mean, he's on Earth a lot, sure. Like, he's in the Watchtower in the comics, and he's on Earth helping too. But he's a space cop. That's kind of the whole point of Green Lantern, even for Jon Stewart. In this, he's becoming a Green Lantern. He's not a Green Lantern yet, but he's like in the process of becoming a Green Lantern, and it just kind of feels like a little weird. It's like, okay, so hold on. You have Hal Jordan, who is this big shot Green Lantern, and he's on Earth, and he's just talking about other. We don't get to see Chip. We don't get to see Kilowog. We don't get to see, you know, any of the other. I don't even know Guy Gardner. I know he's in the DCU, so I don't know what's going on with that. But that leads me to my final point of this video. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I really think it has the potential to be a great show. Don't get me wrong. I really think so. But this leads me to the last point that I wanted to make before I end the video. The suit. I've heard some conflicting things, like some people saying, oh, it's the Earth 1 suit, it's supposed to look like that. I saw one comment on YouTube that said, oh, when he puts it on, it'll turn green. And I only have one thing to say to that. I hope so. I hope that is what happens, because people have to message me when I'm recording videos, apparently. I hope so, man, because I'm not digging the brown suit. I'm just going to be real with you. Like, I honestly think it would have been better if they made it blue and just confused everyone. Like, what is he, Blue Lantern? Like in the comics, like Saint Walker? But no, it's they made the suit brown when it's supposed to be green. And again, that's just the trailer. Who knows? Like, you know, maybe they'll switch that in the actual show. Maybe they're just trying to tease that. But if it's actually just going to be brown the whole time and not green, I mean, even Guy Gardner's suit in the Superman movie isn't brown. Like, I don't get that. Like, that's just, in my opinion, really dumb. You know, I'm kind of like, you know, why don't they just make it green, stick to the continuity? This is the problem with a lot of comic book based TV shows and movies. Marvel seems to do this less, but DC does this, where, you know, they take an idea or a concept and they just do their own thing. They're like, oh, well, Batman's gonna kill now, or Green Lantern suit's gonna be brown. You know, and it's just like, I just don't get it. You know, I'm just like, man, fuck that. Like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be a dick, but it's like, why would you make it brown when the suit's supposed to be green? So again, maybe they'll change that. I hope they do change that. I hope that's just kind of like a meant to grab our attention. Maybe that's what James Gunn was planning. Like, all right, I'm going to get everyone's attention by making the suit brown, but when it shows up in the series, it's going to actually be green. So I hope it's going to be green. And I know that shouldn't really be that big of a deal, but I've never seen a Green Lantern, like, wear brown. That's just kind of weird. I don't know. Like, and it was like tan, so it was like kind of. Let's see if I can pull up the image here. I'll put it in the video on the screen for you guys, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'll show it. I'll even show it in the thumbnail. Let me just look it up here. Don't mind me. Green Lantern. Not VR chat, brown suit. I don't know why it said VR chat. Okay. Yeah, so I'll put it up on the screen for you guys. But yeah, it's like kind of, it looks not that good. Like, if they just made it green, like, the design is fine. The way the suit is shaped is fine. But if they just made it green, and again, I hope I'm wrong. Here's hoping I'm wrong, because that would be awesome to be wrong about this. So, you know, fingers crossed this show comes out. Again, let's look. I'll put it on the screen. So every time I reach for my phone in these videos, you guys don't have to worry. I'll put it on the screen. I'll edit it into the video. But let me just look up, when does Lanterns come out? I should know this already, but for some reason I don't. August. Okay, I had a feeling it's coming out in August. So fingers crossed. I think this show has a lot of potential. Because I loved that concept. I love Green Lanterns as characters, you know, in the comics, whoever it is, you know, Hal, Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner, you know, in the comics you got Kyle Rayner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, you know, you have a few others that, I think those are probably all the humans, but you might have like one or two like lesser known humans, but those are the main guys, and they're really cool characters, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with this show. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, my friends, thank you for watching. Take care. Have a great day.